My name is David Van Cott. I'm the Tibco Global Manager, Global Accounts Manager for InsideView. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about targeted and accurate data with InsideView. And I have with me Vince Canobio, who's your Senior Customer Success Executive. He's on the road today, but he manages the existing license environment that we have with you with our InsideView for Sales product, which is a product that's built directly into Salesforce.com and is used by the sales team to be more informed about accounts and contacts and things like that when they're going in sales pursuits. So what we're going to talk a little bit about today is our data methodology and where we get our data from, and then specifically diving into account-based marketing. What we're calling it as target account marketing or total addressable market, and we'll talk a little bit about how we can bring our database to bear for your efforts, and how what our methodology is for that. So, but encourage you, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask any questions. The chat box is open, and I'll be monitoring that as well. So let's talk about data. It is a very important topic, and something that fuels our business certainly, as well as yours. What we're going to talk about today is really the two biggest areas that customers want to know about InsideView. What's your coverage, and how accurate is your data? And then we'll talk a little bit about the approach that we take with our customers in terms of looking at options for helping you define your target market. And we'll get into technology a little bit. So, but at the top, I just wanted to make sure that you understand that we don't have 240 million companies, and we don't feel like there are 240 million companies out there that are addressable in the world. Traditional data providers, the older, firms that are out there, have been around for 100 years, they claim to have 240 million companies. But really, that's based on the fact that their database was created to assess credit risk. So they're out there trying to figure out, how many companies are out there, for the SEC and various organizations. But they include, a lot of businesses that are no longer active. There's paper entities. There's lots of shell companies out there, and we really focus our efforts on the 20 million companies that matter worldwide. And in the data universe, if you look out there, there's this claim. There's lots of companies, 240 million companies, 80 million companies in the United States. But the U.S. Census says that there's really, we say there's 20 million companies worldwide, and the U.S. Census says there's only 13 million companies in the United States. And that the reality is that really 6 million of those companies are ones that matter because they have more than 5 employees, especially in the B2B space. The same is true, from a social media perspective. A large professional social media site claims to have 111 million social users in the United States, but the U.S. Census says that there's only 115 million employees, and not all of those people, employees total in the United States, and not all those folks are actually decision makers, and not all of them, believe it or not, are on social media. And beyond that, there's really only 2 million of those folks who are executives in the United States that you want to get in touch with. Across the board, the fact is that there's only 50,000 public companies in the world. So I guess the lesson here is bigger is not necessarily better. More data is just more data, and what you really want is data that matters, data that is going to be actionable, data that's going to result in a sale, and not in a lot of extra work. So at InsideView, we've been growing our data set for many years. Our data set's been really developed for sales and marketing professionals in this way, and today we're actually above 15 million contacts. We've really increased our contact coverage in the U.S. Significantly over the last few years. And but you can see that in Asia Pac and LATAM, there is a little bit of a lacking coverage, and that's because it's not available. And if people tell you they have it in their database, they're trying to sell you something that's not really there, because we're very, very methodical about what we allow into our database. Our accuracy level, obviously, is the most important thing for us, and we can tell you that that data is very difficult to come by. But what we do have in our database is highly accurate, and that's true in Asia Pac and LATAM. So our greatest coverage is in the United States and EMEA. But overall, our accuracy is high in every region that we serve. So, from an accuracy standpoint, it's really important to understand that data is a changing thing that is constantly moving. It's kind of like a river. When you take a picture of it, 1 second it looks a certain way, another second later, 2 seconds later, it's going to look a lot different. And in the next 60 minutes, that we're in this meeting, there's going to be 148 new companies that are created, 86 new addresses. People are moving all the time, and at least 170 positions that are created. And so that's just representative of the way that your database is changing. And I think the perception, not only from a marketing standpoint, but from a sales perspective, we have to have an understanding that a database is a fluid thing, and that it moves and changes all the time. And once you're able to understand that and then project that to your customers out there, they have a better understanding of the challenge that you have, and I'm sure you're aware of it. The G2 Crowd survey is out. This is the latest one here in the last quarter, and we're leading the pack in terms of our competition out there. So we're in a good position, and the reason is the fact is that we've got a methodology that is very different and is game-changing for the database, for the data collection industry. And the fact is that we're multi-sourced, so we get our information from 40,000 different sources of information, and we triangulate it onto our platform. We use our algorithm to then validate it, so it's highly accurate. It's kind of like being in a crowded cocktail party where everybody's screaming and yelling out different pieces of information, and the way our algorithm works is they say, well, Mervyn lives here. No, his address is here. It's over here. And we stack rank the sources that are saying it. So if Bob was saying it, we'd give him a 5. If Julie were saying it, maybe we'd give her a 7. And we stack rank the sources, and then we triangulate them down onto our platform. So that's how we get them to be highly accurate. And our refresh rate is happening all the time. So it's we've got, with so many different data sources, we've got a great refresh rate as well. And the fact is that it also allows us to not only present this information in an application format, but also provide some really detailed and highly customized data services, because we have access to all these different databases, and we've got a team who does that. So the approach that we take typically is to really do a deep cleaning for a Salesforce or a Marketo account. And then we have a refresh product that's similar to Data.com's product within Salesforce, although a lot more flexible and obviously better data. But what we're going to focus on today is really specific to your needs around Enrich. So helping you capture leads on a web form and any other source and put them directly into Marketo, enrich them, use the Marketo deduping technology, and only have you pay for the records that you're actually enriching. And then the other thing we'll talk about is Target, which is also an integrated solution within Marketo that allows you to really focus your contact efforts and really hone in on the market, the target piece of the market that you want to address. And we've got 2 different ways to do that. One of them is through an application that we can show you called Target, and that syncs directly into Marketo. And then we've got a methodology in place around defining your total addressable market, essentially by taking a look at your Salesforce database or your Marketo database, whichever one you're working with, and mapping it to our 20 million contact records, and then going in and looking at what is your total addressable market based upon what your existing business is. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, this is from Bizology that B2B data decays about 5% every month. So it's just reinforcing the fact that data is a constantly changing, and it's a fluid element in our world, like it or not. Any questions? Anything I can address as we transition into the product side of things? I don't see any questions up there. Okay. So custom data services. So when we start talking about custom data services, we talk about how we can work with you to achieve your goals. And I think it's really what it comes down to is understanding where we're coming from a database standpoint. Saying, okay, these guys have lots of contacts and accounts and information, and it's triangulated, it's accurate, and bringing us kind of into your goals, into what your strategic initiatives are, and allowing us to work with you to get to some really valuable and powerful custom data sets for you. And one of the things that we want to talk about is target, and really allowing you to get a granular definition of your market space. And it really opens up the white space conversation everybody's been trying to get at, like, well, how do we define our white space, and what are some of the elements that go into getting us to these contacts, these accounts that really matter? Because the fact is that your sales team and your company spends millions of dollars pawing through information and talking to people who will never make a decision. And so the goal here is to stop that from happening. And from a marketing perspective, historically, the Marketo methodology is that historically marketing people have been cost centers, and our goal is to help you change that, to make you guys be the profit centers within your company, to make you guys the ones that are really driving the revenue ball, and have eventually have a seat at the revenue table too. So this world is changing, and we all know that marketing is really driving that change, and the power behind it is the information that you get from a data provider like us. So giving you the power to go out there and make these campaigns really happen and drive revenue. That's what our goal is. So the total addressable market conversation really comes down to defining, who are these people? What are these people that you want to reach out to? By region, by country, by industry. We can bring separate data sets into the conversation to kind of triangulate different things. We have technology used, so we can look at, are these people, what sort of technology are they using today, so that you can make inferences into campaigns, different things like that. And your segmented market is the portion that you're going to target, and the share of the market is the area that you can realistically reach. So from a visual standpoint, it looks like this. Trying to figure out, all right, what is that total addressable market, and what's the portion of that TAM you're going to target, and then the subset of the TAM that you can reach. And that's what we help doing. And the way we do that is first by defining what is your total addressable market. You got to look at the different characteristics of your ideal customer profile. We help you do that. There's a simple example there, but then we go in and we dig deeper to identify the vertical markets, different sales data that we can bring to bear, whatever it is that we can do to help you define that. The more segmentation, the better. In fact, we have accounts that define their total addressable market with data segmentation that is outside of a normal data set. transaction volumes, for example, is one that we've been working on, where we're triangulating transaction volumes with an existing customer set, and then going out there and trying to define specifically, all right, what are the characteristics of companies with high transaction volumes? They're selling an e-commerce product, and so we're engaged in that kind of exercise. The technology use piece, we're working with large firms to really dig into, okay, well, if they're a Salesforce.com customer, then we really want to work with them, and how do we understand what other sort of technologies that they have, their database or what have you, different things like that. So we have access to lots of different data sets, and we can work with your existing data sets to help define this TAM as well. So that's from a custom standpoint, and we then help fill in the blanks, and we try to determine the prevalence in a vertical market, different things like that. So really digging into the details, and the process is really where we go in. We look at your existing data set, we clean it, we enrich it, and then we provide our findings in a graphical format, and we're actually talking with the team about providing that in Spotfire, so that we can show you from a data visualization standpoint, what are the areas you want to target, and have a real good sense of what does your market look like, and then we'll curate that and provide a contacts that actually meet those criteria. So that's from a custom standpoint, and that's something that we certainly would love to engage with you on. It's a bit of an exercise. It's a bit of a journey. If you want to get a view of just what we do from a application standpoint, I can jump into that and show you that here in just a second. So in summary, InsideView provides coverage, great coverage, the 10% that matters. Our accuracy is the highest in the industry. It's very reliable and it's actionable. That's our mantra. And we have a comprehensive plan to clean and refresh and then target your market with InsideView data, and we'd love to be able to work with you on that. So also, obviously we've been doing this for quite a while, and so it's we're not just coming out of thin air with a neat feature. We've got a very comprehensive database that we can work with you on. So that's InsideView. I'm going to jump into the demo portion, and does anybody have any questions that I can answer? Nope. Okay. So what I want to do is show you the standalone product. So this is the standalone product from InsideView that a lot of the salespeople work with, building lists and creating watch lists and different things like that. And this is just a representation, a window into our database. So it's all programmatic. It's not a custom data set that you would get from this. But what we've created for marketing people is this target product, where, for example, if you can see here, we got access to over 21 million people, and if you were, for example, working in the HR industry and you wanted to look up vice presidents of HR, and let's see, let me write this out a little bit better. And let's see. And for example, you were, in the computer industry, hardware, say, and software. Let's see. Let me just go down to computer. So you're just building out these segmentations. Now let's see if it doesn't take that one. Let's see. I'll software first. Then track it. And so, say I'm just looking for emails, all locations, let's say, at least 500 employees. And so, I'm looking for these people. So I can add search criteria. I can start with a list of companies. There's a lot of different ways that I can go here, but this is the interface that you would work with. So when I hit search, it goes out and it looks out across all the areas, and it finds all the VPs of HR in the database. And I've got 267 people that I can talk to here. And say, for example, I really only want to talk to director, but you can see where you can look at all these different areas. You can slice it and dice it by a number of different ways. You have access to LinkedIn and rankings and ownership and different things like that. And the nice thing is that once I've created this targeted list, I can then go in and I can sync this directly with my Marketo instance. And so when I hit the record to sync in to Marketo, it pulls this information directly into Marketo. And what's interesting is that it dedupes. Within Marketo, it dedupes with Marketo, so you're only debited for new leads. And then you also receive an email with the details of the import. So when we go into our Marketo instance, I can go in and look at my leads. I go into all leads, and just go wait for that to load up here. And then I go into my leads, and then I can see where these leads have been imported. And so I go this, and these descending. So I can see here all the leads that I've just imported, right? And I get my company, my email, phone, and I can see that InsideView is the source on these, and the match status is enriched right here. So it's quite possible that I only deduped. It looks like I only matched out of 20. I matched six leads, and so the key is here is that this information goes directly into your Marketo instance and has a enriched status, and then you can use them in a specific campaign that you want. From an admin standpoint, when you look at the target, you have access to this admin dashboard. So you can look at specifically, okay, how many credits do I have? What's the recent activity? I can look into, when did my contract start? Different things like that. I can go into activity history and see, how many records were processed. I just processed these, and so it really allows you to have a visual view into what's going on. So from a programmatic standpoint, we have this product that's available to you and can communicate directly within Marketo from a marketing standpoint. So that's pretty much it from a target standpoint. Be happy to talk a little bit about Enrich as well if you're interested at a later date. Enrich is very similar in terms of what it does and bringing data into Marketo from your web forms that are out there and enriching them, as well as allowing you to import data directly into Marketo and enrich them from trade shows, that kind of thing that you might have. So that's pretty much it. Any questions I can answer, or anything from a marketing standpoint? If you want, I'll put my name and my address in the chat box, so you can contact me directly if you have any questions. And thank you, Mervyn, for putting this together, and look forward to hearing from you all.
Hey, David, I have one question on for example, one of the scenarios that we may have is that we want to go and target specific roles within the financial sector.
Okay.
Can you just walk through an example of how we might be able to do that?
Sure. Yeah, so let's go back to this here. Let me close this. So I'll modify the criteria here. So what sort of titles are you looking for? Or can you give me a title, any title?
What's a good title? Diane, do you know a good title for the finance that we would target?
I was thinking just the usual titles, like maybe like a CIO or something like that.
Okay.
For finance?
Yeah, I think that still would be good.
Okay.
For
yeah,
the
CIOs.
well, you can start there anyway, and then for the insurance industry, maybe.
Okay.
Or I don't know if you have your own categories.
Yeah, we have our own categories that we put together in here. But you can also, if you have certain SIC codes or NAIC codes that you want to put in here, we can do those as well.
Okay.
This other interface, this is our specific for contacts. If you're looking for companies and different things like that, you can go in this interface and build a list that way, which is a little bit different. So anyhow, so what we're looking for here though is CIOs, and looks like we've got 16,000 CIOs in the.
Well, I guess for this purpose, we can pick something broader if that's what you have. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so you've got it, and then it's subdivided into there. So we'll maybe just use that for now.
Yeah, so CIOs and insurance, and you search for those folks, and you've got them all right here, all their information, and then you can either you can sync into Marketo or you can export this into an Excel spreadsheet. So for these purposes, I could just export this, and that'll open up an Excel spreadsheet.
And are we constrained by a certain number of these that we've contracted for a certain time frame, or how does it work?
It's by the year, and I think that what we determine whatever your high water mark would be. How many downloads do you think you'd have? In this instance, you've just done 811 downloads, and the nice thing about syncing it directly into Marketo is that you're only going to get charged for what you don't have in your database already. So
Okay.
So deduping, if you're just exporting into Excel, then you get charged for all 811. So if I did it this way, I get charged for 811. If I do it, sync with Marketo, then I'm only going to get the ones that I'm, not duplicating.
Yeah, net new. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and then so we would just determine like, hey, they're going to do 5,000 a month or whatever you think you might be able to do, and we can adjust it over time as well. So, and from a custom data service standpoint, there is some variability in the way we charge for that because it takes some things take more effort than others. For example, if you wanted to get direct dial information for all the CIOs, maybe you wanted to try to get as many cell phone numbers as you possibly could. I don't know. We could do that, but it would probably cost a little bit more. So the more creative, the better, and that's your job, to be creative in your marketing approach. But the nice thing also about our data, something that you should know, is that when you purchase data from us, it's yours. You're not leasing it. It's not something we can take away if you decide to not renew your contract or something along those lines. Very different approach than the traditional data providers out there as well. So.
David, this is Jen Walsh. I have a question about like customer-specific domains. We are trying to actually bridge the gap we've got between our customer list and our database, which sounds crazy, but we have a customer list by company, but we don't have any unique identification like email domain or something like that with which we can accurately go into our system and flag our contact individuals as customers. So I'm trying to figure out how from our data pool how to find email domains for those respective companies. Is InsideView a tool that can help us with that? And if so, I'm trying to identify like license and access for myself and Miley Jacobson, and I don't know if there's any availability at all.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea, because I mean, you register your products by email. Do you register your products by email domain?
No, we don't. I'm sorry. It's kind of it's just that like we don't have like a customer flag in our database, so we like our customers and our prospects are all kind of blended in one database, and we don't have like an easy way to say, oh, pull a list of our exact customers. So basically, they've pulled the company names of our customers from our procurement system, which isn't tied to our marketing and sales system. And I'm trying to find a way to connect the two.
Yeah, we could definitely help out with that. We could definitely help out that way, because we do a lot of I mean, that's one of our key, the domain name is something that we key off of very highly in terms of our ranking. URL is probably the top one, and then the domain name is number 2. So absolutely, I think if you wanted to kind of just work on it a little bit with me, I'd be happy to take that offline and help you with that.
Okay.
I think we can help out. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. I'll snag your contact details.
Yeah. Go ahead and reach out to me directly, and we've got a team of people who work on this kind of thing all the time, and like I said, domain name is something that we can definitely help out with.
Okay, great.
And then ideally we could take that information and then make some sort of segmentation off of the existing customers that you have, and then provide you a view into what you might not have yet. So
great.
Yeah, good question. So anything else? Anybody else? Well, we're
actually, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I have one question. This is Eric. Is it possible to drill down location for area code? Because I've ran into a couple instances where we've tried to hold like a regional event, and a company, someone maybe their company postal code is like in San Francisco, but we want to hold an event in like Los Angeles. Is it possible to drill down to things like area code, so if someone's working remote or in a secondary office, we can capture that person?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. So what you would do is, you'd say California, 415 or what have you, 408, and you could, you call it California, and then you could go and, you could say public software companies in this area. So there's 100 companies in there. And then, so here's, these are the companies that have offices in 415 and 408 that are public, and I could export that information. So are you trying to find companies, or are you trying to find people?
People.
Okay, so this is how I would do that. I would go in, and then I'd say, okay, here are my companies. It's a little bit of a workaround, but it's a way you can do it on your own.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And then I go back in, and what I do is I create this thing called a watch list. And here's California, and I'm loading up the companies in here. Is that all of them? Oh, that's not the right, wasn't the right cut there, but hold on a second. Get rid of that. Here are my companies. I don't know why. Oh, I was keying off the the one that gave me a description, not the account name. Hold on a second. So I got 100 companies, and I go back in there, and I'm putting these companies in here, And so what this does, and this is kind of cool in a way because it allows you to put these guys on a watch list. And the watch list you can apply specific sales triggers to. So if I wanted to know, how many of these companies have had leadership changes in the last 30 days, I could find out that information. I've got these agents. There's 18 that are out of the box here. Things like. And if I wanted a custom agent, like to your point, I guess there was a question earlier about where the CIOs. I could anytime CIO comes up in the news, I could have that here. But the net of it is from a lead acquisition standpoint, I could go in, and I'm going to go in the classic view, but I could go in and I could say, look, I just want IT people, I just want C-level and executive IT people, VPs, and I only want those people in 415 and 408. So.
Oh, okay. So from that watch list. Okay, I get it now. Got it.
And I pull that, and then I get my 249 people, and then I export that directly into an Excel spreadsheet. Unfortunately, that feature is not available in the Target, that other product that you saw there. But you can use this classic view just the same way.
Okay, got it.
Voila! There you got your validated emails and everything that you need to drive your campaign. So we do this a lot of times for regional events, just to your point.
Yeah.
For example, Apple is doing these regional events at all their Apple stores, and we're working with them to say, okay, in Las Vegas and Los Angeles, these are the kind of people we want. And obviously there's some different criteria that they're looking for, but yeah, the net of it is yes. So you can use it that way.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Great. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. This is Jonathan Gallagher. First, appreciate all the information, really very helpful. I think we've got a lot of different groups within our marketing organization that are going to be interested in pulling lists. And I'm just wondering if there's an easy way to kind of, I don't know if it's to allocate the credits across different groups or to tag, tag different export projects so that we can kind of keep track of, who's requesting what and which credits have been allocated across the different groups.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, that's a good question because the admin dashboard allows you to do that very thing. It allows you to see, how many credits you have, how many credits have been used, and then specifically, who's making those requests, right? And how many credits are they using? So if you have cost centers that you need to align to or what have you, you can use that to it. And we'll be happy to break it out for you as well if you're not able to do that. But yeah, and we keep track of it, obviously, in terms of what's going on. So I think in the very beginning, it's just a matter of saying, okay, this is our high water mark. We're never going to go over this, and figuring out if that's the right size for you.
Okay, thank you. And if you already mentioned this, how many, what's our existing balance right now, or are we still sorting that out?
We're still, yeah, I mean, right now you guys have InsideView for sales, only for the sales team, and they only have 500 exports a month, 500 exports a month. So it's really, from a marketing perspective, it's not really useful. So I think between myself and Mervyn and whoever is making the decision there, we need to decide on, okay, how many exports do we think we would need in a month or a year, and then assign these licenses, these specific target licenses, assign them to the marketing team so that you guys can go out there and start working on this and using this product. And then beyond that, if there are specific custom things that you're looking to do, specific like what Jen just talked about, then we can work with you directly on that from a custom standpoint.
Okay.
So
and
I
just
don't
like
know.
a basic export of names you've already got without any kind of custom data requests. What's the average, I guess, cost per contact?
I want to say 50 cents, but that's that would be at the highest level. Not at the highest level.
Yeah.
That would be without any discount.
Got it.
So, I would imagine you guys would probably afford a little bit more than that. So, but I don't know who. I think Mervin's my main contact, and I don't know in terms of making this decision if that would be who I would work with. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, David, I think for the target piece, yeah, we can work on that, and we can get an approximate number of contacts that we might download.
Okay.
Or sync.
Yeah.
Is the sync part that you shared with Marketo, is there anything that specifically needs to be integrated into Marketo?
It's really straightforward. So there's nothing that difficult that needs to be done to make it happen. So
okay.
We just need the Marketo instance information.
Okay.
And from a mapping standpoint, here's the integration tab. You can see how it's configured. Field mapping generally is standard. There may be some fields that we want to go in and look at specific to your Marketo instance, but it doesn't take very much time at all to put that together. And then it's mapped for everybody, and everybody can use it as they need to.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Great. Well, I'll follow up with Mervin and thank everybody else on the call here for your time today. Hope you guys have a great holiday, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.